Barkley is an assistant to a detective named Marjorie, and Marjorie has an alter ego that she doesn't know exists named Gina, and this Gina persona has some really creepy and perhaps psychotic tendencies. And the story begins when the mayor of the town is murdered and Marjorie is put on this case. And Marjorie begins to suspect the mayor's cousin, a man named Thomas, who stood to collect a lot of money if the mayor died. And she gets her friend Jacob to do tests on the mayor's body, where it's discovered that there was poison in the mayor's bloodstream. And Barkley isn't convinced that the mayor's cousin Thomas was the one who killed the mayor because Thomas is an alcoholic and he can barely put two sentences together, let alone an elaborate murder plot. But Jacob says to just let Marjorie do her job. Meanwhile, there's another crime committed in town. The local prized possession, the heirloom jewelry box, is stolen from the town's museum, and Marjorie is also put on that case. And during this time, we see Barkley, how she navigates her daily life between talking to the Gina persona to get insights on the case, and then bringing those insights and presenting them as her own to Marjorie, and Marjorie being like, well, I never even thought of that. You're very smart, Barkley, and then Marjorie does better in her investigations. And while these investigations are going on, it's also revealed that the mayor has had molested girls at a local orphanage in the past. And the orphanage is also the place where Marjorie grew up. And so Barkley begins to suspect that perhaps Marjorie's alternate personality, Gina, murdered the mayor as revenge for those crimes. And she brings it to Jacob, but Jacob's just not very helpful. He's like, no, just let it be, just let Marjorie do her job. And Marjorie eventually does solve the jewelry box case. A local reporter is actually the culprit. She stole the jewelry box to sell on the black market and restore her newspaper, which is going under. While that reporter is being arrested, she accuses Marjorie of murdering the detective's previous assistant, who's a woman named Samantha. Now, Barkley had not heard of Samantha before, so she talks to Jacob about Samantha, and Jacob reveals, yes, Samantha was the assistant before you, and yes, she did die, but that's because she was hit by a train. Like, it wasn't murder. And Barkley says, well, could she have been pushed in front of that train? And Jacob just doesn't answer that. During about this time, Marjorie thinks that she has finally found evidence to convict the mayor's cousin. It's discovered that he was over at the mayor's house during the time of death, and that's enough to get him arrested. And Barkley just thinks he was sleeping off a hangover, but Marjorie is convinced that in an alcoholic rage, he poisoned the mayor. And Barkley thinks, I have to intervene now. An innocent man is about to get in trouble for murder that he did not commit. And Barkley puts together the evidence about Gina's existence. She puts together the evidence that Marjorie was molested. She gets all this together and she's like, Jacob, I'm going to try to get a confession out of Gina, and then I'm going to go to the police. And Jacob says, you realize that your boss, Marjorie, will also go to jail if Gina goes to jail. And Barkley's like, yeah, I know, but I have to do the right thing. And so she goes to Marjorie/Gina's residence, and while she's there, she is met by the Gina persona, but she's interrupted by Jacob. And Jacob is actually the one who killed the mayor, and he did it to avenge the love of his life, which is Marjorie. He's been in love with her, and he is angry about her being assaulted as a child, and he thinks that's what caused the split in personality. And he's trying to kill Barkley during this time. And Gina, the Gina personality, actually intervenes and prevents that, but also ends up accidentally killing Jacob in the process. But because Barkley was trying to record a confession, they get enough of Jacob's confession to say to the police that yes, Jacob's the one who killed the mayor, release Thomas, but also they don't reveal the existence of the Gina persona. And the story ends with Gina and Barkley walking along the train tracks discussing Samantha. And it turns out Samantha had learned about Gina, and Samantha was actually trying to reveal Gina's existence to Marjorie, and Gina didn't want that. And the story kind of ends when a train is coming closer and closer and closer, and Barkley and Gina are standing by the train tracks.